Hello and welcome to Sideline Story, your destination for sports news analysis and discussions. I'm Yang Guang. This week we explore the high-scoring dilemma in the NBA. Is easier scoring harming the integrity of the game? What is causing this inflation? To unpack the questions, I'm joined here with my fantastic co-hosts Tian Yu and Brandon Yates. All right, this season we've seen some statistical milestones, but one in particular really puts the modern NBA landscape into perspective. Kevin Durant didn't just pass Michael Jordan on the all-time scoring list. He did it while taking over 2,300 fewer field goal attempts. That's a staggering number. So I want to start there. Tian Yu, when you see a stat like that, a player being that efficient to surpass the greatest of all time, what does it actually tell you?
I would say it's actually really a mix of both KD's greatness and the way the game has changed. If you look back at Michael Jordan's era in the NBA, the game was way more physical back then. Defenders could hand check, there was a lot more body contact, and honestly, that kind of toughness was like part of the league itself. So every point Jordan got, he actually really had to fight for it. And that's why I like to call it a muscle jungle back then. You had to earn everything the hard way. And now fast forward to today, I mean, the rules clearly favor the offense more. Players are more protected, the fouls are called tighter, and teams are way smarter about their spacing and shot selection. So I think naturally the process just pushes up the efficiency. A big turning point was that Warriors round with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson. That team didn't just win the league, they kind of redefined what good offense looks like. The system kind of helps the guys be more efficient today. But I think at the same time, we can't take anything away from KD just immediately, because I think his scoring is just ridiculously clean. The shot selection, the length, and the touch is almost, unguardable. And also we can't overlook the fact that he missed about 2 full seasons with injuries. When you put it all together, I would say the era kind of boosts efficiency, but Durant is still a one-of-a-kind player, a scorer. So both things can be true.
Yeah. Brandon, does this overtake speak more to Kevin Durant's absolute genius, or is it another evidence, the clearest evidence of yet how drastically the game has shifted to favor offensive efficiency?
Look, I think it's a bit of both. I think Kevin Durant definitely deserves a huge amount of credit for the longevity that he's been able to show, the accuracy that he's been able to show, and the amount of points that he scored over so many seasons playing for a variety of franchises and in completely different eras of, NBA style and officiating and that sort of thing. I think he's definitely going to go down as a great of the sport, but particularly in his position and also particularly for, the style of play that he has in his teams, which I think evolved from just being a shooter to also being like a linchpin of a team and someone that draws attention and is also a leader. So many different elements of his game make him such a special talent. And I think the fact that he was able to, get to this yet another milestone in his career with so fewer attempts than Michael Jordan also just shows you, what a point scoring force he is. And in terms of the NBA favoring, point scoring and becoming a little bit softer, I suppose, well, probably a lot softer than the Michael Jordan era. I think there is definitely some truth to that, and it probably has gone a little bit too far at this point. But that being said, I think that generational talents are able to evolve their game to what the NBA sort of demands. And I think Kevin Durant is a player that's been able to do that incredibly well. I still personally think that he doesn't enter the greatest of all time conversation along with someone like Michael Jordan because, when it comes to MVPs and championships and also just being the leader on and off the court for a team and just somebody that carries so much of a burden on their shoulders, I don't think there's ever been a player in the league's history that's done that better than Michael Jordan. And he also did it in a time where the NBA was like almost as physical as rugby. You know, it was such a it was it was such a different time. And look, I think, you know, both time periods in the NBA I think are equally entertaining for different reasons. And I think that Kevin Durant is just somebody, like I said, that evolved his game to be as efficient as possible in the period that he was playing in. But, you know, also again, you know, Michael Jordan said recently that he hates comparisons and he hates the GOAT conversation. And like I kind of get it, because, you know, it's so different. It's almost impossible to do, because the game and the way it's played and the way that it's officiated and the different elements that players have to deal with has changed so much over the last 10, 20, or 30 years that comparing is actually almost a fruitless activity. But if we're just looking at Kevin Durant and what he's been able to do for the sport and for all of the franchises that he's played in, I think there's no doubt that he is one of the most lethal point scoring forces that the NBA has ever seen. And I think that this latest uh, milestone proves that without a shadow of a doubt.
Right. When I look at the stats, my first reaction was like, okay, points can be so cheap these days. With all due respect to Kevin Durant, because I think he's the ultimate scoring machine the NBA has ever seen.
Yeah.
His high field goal percentage proves that. But still, when you beat someone like Michael Jordan, who played until his 40s in scoring,
Yeah.
there must be some inflation added. Yeah. Of course, you can argue that Kevin Durant has made more three-pointers than Jordan did. But other than that, I still believe that scoring is so much easier in Durant's age than in Jordan's.
Yeah.
Not by us, but by those professional players. Yeah. That leads to a broader question. Even if the analytics say it's smarter and more efficient basketball, is the end product actually better? I mean, we just witnessed someone like Bam Adebayo drop as many as 83 points in a single game. 83 points. Think about it. I bet some casual NBA fans haven't heard of this name before.
Yeah.
Tianyu, is this high-scoring era a golden age for skill, or has the lack of defensive resistance made the regular season a little bit hollow or boring, you could say?
Well, first of all, I couldn't say that it's a golden era. I mean, yeah, the scoring right now is just crazily wild. You could see 120, 130, or even 140 in a single game, and it's becoming kind of a commonplace right now. Which honestly would have sounded so crazy like 10 or 15 years ago. So yeah, now with Adebayo dropping 83, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of debate over how reasonable or whether justifiable the record is, and I totally get why there is so much debate about it. So if you are on the supportive side of Adebayo, you're saying, I mean, he played within the rules. Those free throws, he kind of earned it himself. Nobody was really handing him points. Instead of that, the opponent team was actually trying to compete. They didn't just roll over. And so, yeah, a record is a record. But on the other hand, if you're on the other side, the argument is also pretty fair. Adebayo isn't known as an elite scorer. He's far from a scorer like Kobe Bryant type of player. Yeah. So when he suddenly drops 80 plus points, and a big part of that actually comes from free throws, you would naturally think is not as impressive as what Kobe Bryant used to achieve. But for me, I kind of sit in the middle. But I lean towards giving him more credits, because I think if you actually watch the game, especially the first three quarters, I think he was really dominant. I say the first 60 points came from his red-hot forms and his solid performance.
Against the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
Just a reminder here.
It's technically it's not a very competitive game, but that's where it gets a bit questionable, is that late in the game, you could really feel that the team was trying to push him towards that record.
Yeah, even the opponents trying to encourage him to score on the line.
Yeah, so there were more fouls and more touches, and just to get more minutes for Adebayo to stay on the court. Honestly, I don't think we should blame Adebayo. Because if it were me, I would beg my teammates to help me, to go full length to help me to reach that record.
I understand, yeah.
As for the free throws, I also don't think we should really blame that on Adebayo, because I think that's more on how the game is being officiated right now. I think we will touch on that later, but I think he just played the game the way it's set up.
Yes, 83 points. I really miss the time when a team scored 83 points in a single game instead of just one player.
Yeah.
Well, to me, Adebayo's 83-point night felt less like a remarkable milestone. I mean, it is a remarkable milestone for him personally, but I just don't think he belongs to that high-scoring club. It felt no harsh feelings here, but it felt more like a farce, or as many fans would call it, a joke to me. Yeah, no harsh feelings, no discrimination here. It made me wonder if the NBA is still about serious games or some entertainment shows that, generate meaningless, pointless, but very flashy moments, records, and score lines to attract fans. It's like, hey, guys, watch, you can't miss this. Someone just beat Kobe Bryant's 81-point record.
Yeah.
It's a very loud but very tacky slogan by the NBA. I don't know, that night just gave me that sense of feeling. And it's not just the players. Now we have, as you said, scoreline regularly hitting 120, 130, even 140, 150 by a side without an overtime in a single game. So, Brandon, do you find the games entertaining to watch with this high-scoring situation?
Well, I was fortunate enough to see Bam Adebayo play in person. I saw him play. I saw Jokic play, obviously, for the Nuggets. And I've always been a fan of the way Bam Adebayo plays. And I think that, this latest achievement that he's been able to do, while definitely never been regarded as a great, major point scorer, is indicative of, I suppose, the way the game's being officiated and the way that players are able to kind of manipulate officiating to benefit their style and to get the best out of their team. And I think that, I mean, is it becoming less entertaining? I guess in a way, because opposing players and fans are kind of getting frustrated with how certain players and teams are able to kind of manipulate. I mean, I say manipulate, but kind of, I suppose, work the system to a way that best suits their playing style and their team. And, you can't blame someone like Bam Adebayo or, the Miami Heat for doing what's necessary for their team. But I think that when you see these ridiculously high point scoring games, and a lot of it comes from free throws and that sort of thing, I guess it does become quite tedious and less physical and less back and forth, and maybe matches don't necessarily go down to the wire in as an exciting way as they used to. But I guess, on the flip side of that, you're seeing players being protected from injury. You're seeing different sorts of players ascending that may have never had the chance to do so, the way that the game was previously officiated. So I think there's pros and cons to every sort of NBA era. I'm personally more of a fan of the old school era, like Michael Jordan's time, where big men and physicality and point scoring and multiple facets of athleticism were required to be successful. Whereas now it just seems like you need to be able to draw fouls and be able to hit free throws. And, that's kind of a way to become to get to the playoffs and become an MVP and, be a great of today's game. But maybe I think the extreme on both ends is not necessarily a good thing. I think that a lot more needs to be done to maybe make a little bit more of a level playing field for all sorts of basketball players to be able to excel, which is easier said than done. And I think that it's probably easier to take out physicality, a brutal physicality out of the game, as opposed to kind of minimizing it to a certain degree, if that makes sense.
Right, before we move on, here's a quick review of the biggest sports headlines in China and around the world for the past week. Mohamed Salah has announced that he will leave Liverpool at the end of the season after a brilliant 9-year run with the Reds. The Egyptian established himself as one of the best players in club history, helping Liverpool to Premier League titles, the Champions League and more. The 33-year-old experienced a dip in form this season, scoring 10 goals in 34 games across all competitions so far. His next destination remains unclear. Kylian Mbappe has disputed reports about the severity of the left knee sprain that has limited his availability of late for Real Madrid. Mbappe says the report that Real's medical team bungled his knee was not true. The French star came off the bench in Real Madrid's two most recent matches. Chinese tennis star Zheng Qinwen's Miami Open journey ended with a straight-set loss to bitter rival Aryna Sabalenka in round of 16. The Olympic champion had beaten Grand Slam champions Madison Keys and Sloane Stephens in the previous rounds, marking her best matches since coming back from an elbow injury last month. Carlos Alcaraz suffered a stunning 3-set upset loss at the Miami Open. The world number 1 lost to Sebastian Korda in the third round.
Tough match, obviously. I think Sebi was incredible today. Played such a great game. A lot of tight moments that I just didn't make the most of it, and I think he was better on that points, on that moments, and it was that. I would say that was the key of the match. So just congrats to him, and I think he deserved it.
Korda marked his first win against the world number 1 and becomes just the 6th American man to defeat a top-ranked player since 2015. The NBA has finally decided to consider expanding its current 30-team footprint, with the league's owners voting to start exploring the process of adding franchises in Las Vegas and Seattle. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says he's excited with the move, but expansion is not guaranteed.
Our goal was in 2026 to resolve this issue one way or the other. My timeline, we weren't so specific with the board, is that we need to know by the end of this calendar year what it is we're doing. It may not be that, every I is dotted.
Prospective ownership groups will now be tasked with putting together their bids and plans in an effort to prove the league that they are worthy of owning NBA franchises. In snooker, Thailand's Thepchaya Unu has won the Yushan World Open title in China. He beat Ronnie O'Sullivan 10-7 in the final. It was the biggest title of his career.
You're really happy to win the title, especially play with Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final. This is my dream fight. I dream one day I need to play with him in the final, and then my dream came true.
Onu also expressed hopes that the win will inspire young players in Thailand. Now back to Adebayo's 83-point night. I just can't let him go easily. He also created another record that night with the most number of free throw attempts by a single player in a single game, 43.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, maybe two teams might have, combined for that number, but now it's just a single player can achieve 43 free throws. When you couple this scoring output with how the game is being called by the referees, it's clear that part of the reason that scoring is up is due to tighter referee calls and the resulting free throw rate. That brings us to a recent flashpoint. Celtics star Jaylen Brown went on a pretty passionate rant recently, blasting players who manipulate the rules and hunt for fouls after the game against who? The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
He said that this style of play is not basketball. I guess he's not wrong that there's a difference between, drawing legitimate fouls and deliberately creating contact just to get to the line.
Yeah.
But it seems like nowadays in the league, the rules are favoring those who, cheat on this. So, Tianyu, is the NBA at a crossroads where officiating is encouraging this kind of wrong behavior?
Well, on this one, I do think Jaylen Brown has a fair point. And I would say a lot of fans share the same feeling. I think the league has clearly moved towards protecting offensive players more, which is understandable. But the side effect of that is that we are seeing way more foul calls, and naturally players are starting to adjusting to it. We talked about this before with the SJ episode. I mean, guys like him aren't doing anything illegal. They're still playing under the rules, but they're just being smart. So if the rules kind of reward you for drawing fouls, drawing contact, you're going to lean into it. All the teams are going to, doing research on the rules, and they're going to just following suit. So I think from a player's perspective, it makes total sense to do that. But from a fan's perspective, it can get really frustrating. The flow of the game gets broken up constantly. You got whistles, you got foul plays, stoppages. It kind of kills the rhythm of the games. And also, with the current rules, flopping becomes just kind of a commonplace now because there's actually an incentive to exaggerate contact. So yeah, I think I get why what Jaylen Brown means when he says that's not basketball. Indeed, it doesn't feel like basketball anymore.
Right. Brandon, what's your take on this? Is Jaylen Brown correct on this?
I think my take on players criticizing other players for doing what's best for their team and to get the victory, I think is actually laughable. I think Jaylen Brown is a fantastic player, one of the best players in the NBA right now, but I think he's also one of those players that needs to shut his mouth. No, because he definitely has a point in terms of it's not great for the game, but it's not the players' fault. The players are out there to compete and do the best that they can do for their franchise to get to playoffs and championship matches and that sort of thing, because they don't get paid millions of dollars to do what's best for the game. They get paid millions of dollars to try and bring their team success. And if they are able to figure out legal ways to do that are within the frameworks of how the game is played and how it's officiated right now, that's not down to the players. That if anything, Jaylen Brown should be directing his anger towards the NBA and towards match officials. It's got nothing to, as far as I'm concerned, nothing to do with the players and the franchises that they represent. I think, again, another athlete that's just running their mouth in the wrong direction, like I've already said in previous podcasts about like Max Verstappen in Formula One and a couple of other guys, where they should just do their job and stay away from the press conference. But yeah, I think Jaylen Brown definitely has the right to be frustrated with the way that things are going right now. But yeah, that anger is definitely directed in the wrong direction. And I think that he echoes a lot of player sentiments. I think there are a lot of players out there that are getting frustrated with how they are forced to adapt their game to deal with the current scenario. I think that meetings need to be called where, top NBA players, top NBA coaches and team owners and, the NBA commissioner and all of these higher ups need to get together and have meetings that can get to a place where there's a general consensus of what should be done for fan engagement. We're in a place right now where with social media and, modern technology and smartphones, all of that sort of thing, there's never been a better time for sports to be able to engage with their fans and get, live feedback from their fans. So I think this is also a fantastic opportunity for the NBA to reach out to fans and say, listen, what do you think about the game? What would you like to see more? What would you like to see less of? And actually, obviously, I think the main opinions and expertise needs to come from the players and, coaches and all of that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, the NBA is nothing without fans, right?
Right. Finally, let's circle back to a broader debate. There's a school of thought that the small ball era, with the obsession with pace, space, and three-point volume, started with Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. And because of that, some people argue that he should be held responsible for what they see as a decline of the game's quality. So Tianyu, do you agree on that?
I would say it's a little bit unfair to judge Curry that way. I'm not a Curry fan for starters, but I think, yeah, for the record, I think Curry didn't ruin the game. I think he changed the game, he changed the style, but honestly, he changed it in a beautiful way. Because when you watch him play, it's not just the shooting. I think it's also about the movement, the handles, the way he creates space, and just the simple energy he brings to the courts. I would say he's one of the most entertaining players we've ever seen in the NBA history. And the funny thing is that he's not even someone who relies wholly on drawing fouls. He plays through contacts.
Yeah.
And he runs tirelessly throughout the games, and he works off the ball. It's not about, being clever on the pitch. It's also about skill and effort. So I think back then, those Warriors versus Cavaliers matchups were really memorable and impressive for a lot of fans, because just seeing the two completely different playing styles going against each other is just a pleasure to watch. So blaming Steph Curry for the direction of the game, I think that doesn't really make sense to me. So if a player shows you that shooting three-pointers is actually at that level is possible, it's a natural thing that the whole league is going to adapt to that. So coaches are going to copy the strategy, players are going to train for it. The small ball isn't about just one player. I think it's the natural evolution of the game.
Right. In Curry's defense, I just think he got the least number of calls from the referees among the superstars of his caliber. That alone proves it that he's not the reason why the league is so soft these days. All right, let's see how basketball will evolve in the NBA in the near future. With that, we end this episode of Sideline Story. Thank you so much for joining us. Subscribe to Sideline Story and leave your comments wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information, you can also check our website at radio.cgtn.com. Until next time, stay on the sidelines with us.